Good day, everyone. I am Dr. John Andrew Camposano, a member of the Philippine Pediatric Society Committee on Accident Prevention, Disaster, Environmental Safety, and Assistance. And on behalf of the ADEA Committee, I will be moderating this lecture on firecracker injury and poisoning, prevention, and first aid. This is a very timely and relevant lecture for the PPS membership because we want to have safe holiday celebrations for Filipino children and their families. Our first speaker is Dr. Beda Espineda. He is a pediatric surgeon, a member of the Philippine College of Surgeons, and a founding member of the ASEAN Association of Pediatric Surgeons. He has a leadership role in Global Initiative for Children's Surgery, the Philippine College of Surgeons Commissions and Scientific Programs, and the PCS Commission on Surgery and Insert. He is a regular resource speaker for the PPS. Dr. Espineda, the floor is yours.
Good day. My topic is about awareness, prevention, and treatment of firecrackers-related injuries. I have nothing to declare. Iwas paputok, or in English, it is called avoid firecrackers. You can see this poster all over the Philippines, especially during the holiday season. So this Iwas paputok campaign was launched by the Department of Health during the time of Secretary Manuel Dairet in 2002, which aims to educate people on the dangers of firecrackers. Before this campaign, about 800 to 1,000 cases of fireworks-related injuries are recorded. This campaign was expanded by the Department of Health as Oplan Iwas Paputok, now in collaboration with the ILG, Bureau of Fire Protection, Department of Education, and other NGOs. With this, there were marked reduction of cases from 200 to 300 cases per year, which is monitored by the Fireworks-Related Surveillance Unit of the Department of Health. So the statistics, we can see here from December 2021 to January 2022, there were only 58 cases. This was also maybe related to the pandemic. In December 2022 to January 2023, noted were 181 cases. And December 2023 to 2024 January, 609 cases were recorded. And on December 2024 to January 25 this year, only 419 cases were noted. In 2017, then President Rodrigo Duterte has signed an executive order which mandates of providing for the regulation and control of the use of firecrackers and pyrotechnic device. So Iwas Paputok was even promulgated in the school. You can see here in the pictures. So many schools were promoting and campaigning for the Iwas Paputok. So the type of firecrackers that we see in the picture are different from sparklers to the more common prohibited and non-prohibited firecrackers are usually seen in the market and being sold especially before Christmas time. The prohibited firecrackers, as shown in the slide, we can identify Piccolo, Watusi, Judas Belt, Super Lolo, Lolo Thunder, Bawang, Goodbye Philippines, Pillbox, 5-Star, and Giant Whistle. These are the most common prohibited firecrackers still being sold in the market. But take note that in children, the most commonly used ones are the Piccolo, the Watusi, the 5-Star, and the Boga. The Boga, as we know, is now the most notorious, being used by children. This consists of a cylindrical PVC or a bamboo where alcohol and other inflammatory agents are being placed there, and there's a marked sound, and also there are also explosions. This is a very notorious one to cause firecracker-related injuries nowadays in children. This is especially seen in the provincial and rural areas. So in the picture, you can see here what I mentioned, the most commonly used by children nowadays. The Watusi, the Piccolo, the 5-Star, and I said the most recent one is the Boga Paputok. Now, we go to the fireworks safety tips on how we could prevent these firework-related injuries. So, what we have to remember for the campaign of the firecrackers related injuries, especially in children, is number one. You should never allow young children to handle firecrackers or fireworks. This is an account for the parents to have these children never to handle or use any kinds of fireworks. But older children should be given, but also with adult supervision. So this is the most important preventive aspect as far as the firecracker-related injuries are concerned. Never use fireworks while also with impaired drugs or alcohol by adults. Never hold lighted fireworks in your hands and never light them indoors. Only use them away from people, houses, and flammable materials. Never ignite them in container, as seen in Boga. Never set flames on a tire, which is seen common, especially during the New Year season. Only light device one at a time and maintain safe distance. Always keep a bucket or pail of water supply just in case you need to douse the fire. And of course, everyone should know the first aid treatment tips for these related injuries. This picture showed in the emergency room fireworks-related injuries that are being brought in the emergency room. Number one, of course, are the burn injuries, which consists about 45%. Then next is the lacerations and contusions, followed by fractures and sprains. Other related injuries like poisoning and ingestion of chemicals are also being reported at the emergency room. So showing in the picture are the body parts affected. Very glaringly that the most common affected parts are the hands and fingers, consisting of 36%, followed by the head, face, and ear, which comprise 19%, and the eyes, about 19%. The types of injuries, as I mentioned, the most common is the burns, which is either first or second degree. Lacerations, puncture wounds are also common, and ingestion or poisoning, as I mentioned, are very common in children. Blast injuries, sprain, fracture are also noted but seen in adults. Eye injuries is also one of the components where you see in children, especially in the emergency room. So you can see here in the picture different scene usually we see in children. The sparklers being used by children, but as I mentioned, even this is a non-prohibited fireworks. This can cause burn as well as other firecrackers-related injuries by using these sparklers. Firecrackers, again, most notorious. So you can see here, and also one of the most common observation that we make is during the time after the celebration, New Year celebration, after the fireworks have been finished, then you can see here children are picking up firecrackers which are unexploded and then set this on fire. And I think this, again, one of the most common scene that we see emergence of firecrackers-related injuries post New Year's Eve. So the type of burns that we see very specifically from number one, the firecracker first-degree burn with only erythema and least slight pain. But on the second degree, you can see already blisters and also severe pain. So the third-degree burns, as shown in the picture, you can see here that is already involved the subcutaneous tissue and even some muscles and even some parts of the bones. This is a most serious type of injury, showing also in the most lateral part of the picture. The first degree burns that we see usually seen during the time of when these patients are brought to the emergency room. Shown the most common are the first and second degree burns rather than the third degree burns. So picture of the most common hand injuries that we see in the emergency room are one, in the first slide, the erythema and swelling. This is a very minor ones. There's no cut. But however, on other picture in the middle, you can see first degree burns. It not only with erythema, but also there are some form of contusion and laceration being treated. And then most worst is the last slide on the third up left right side. You can see here that there are also loss of digit, this second digit, which is maybe secondary to a firecracker related amputating the digit of the right hand. So again, another pictures of fireworks related injuries in worst scenario. You can see here lacerations on the middle pictures, bones that are fractured, maybe the second or the third fingers, bones are being severed. And worst course scenarios, the amputation, wherein there is a loss not only of the bones, but other tissues in the fingers. Again, another most common injuries we see in children are the injuries of firecrackers related for fireworks in the face, in the nose, and even injuries. Take note that it's very important when this happens, where there's facial injuries, especially the eyes and even the nose, that these children should be brought immediately to the emergency room or any tertiary hospital for proper care and management. This should be seen by a specialist like an ophthalmologist to see whether there is some form of injury to the eye which may eventually constitute a cause blindness to the possible patient. This is a picture again that we see commonly during the time of in the New Year or New Year's Eve, where you see eyes, nose, and facial injuries of different. There are also not only in boys but also in female or in girls. We can see facial as well as other injuries in the face. Again, I just like to mention these blast injuries. Although this is an uncommon one, but this could happen especially those areas wherein they use some form of explosive devices, maybe not only to scare the people, but also peoples who are not even wanting to only celebration, but some form causing injury to the general population. So blast injuries is one of also an isolated, but also can be seen in kind of firecracker related injuries. Okay, in blast injuries, as I mentioned, this is the most severe type of injuries that we see in not only during the time of holiday season, but also in other where there's some form of celebration using chemical explosives. You can see here in the picture, the mild, but there might be some only third degree burns. But you can see in the middle as well as in the last picture, the severity of hand injuries causing loss of not only of skin, but also some form of amputation to different types of extremities as well as digits of the hand. Now we go to the first aid treatment. Of course, we have noted the how to prevent this kind of injuries, especially in children. We should know also the first aid treatment or the first aid management when you see this kind of injuries. Talking about first and second degree burns or the minor burns that we usually commonly see, there is no break of the skin. There is no cut, there is no laceration or avulsion. Only erythema and mild contusion and pain, which is very, very common being experienced by children. So what you do here, when you see this one, is wash the affected areas with clean tap water, not ice. Apply any topical burn ointments like Silbadin or Flamacin to these burn areas. And do not apply toothpaste, butter, oil, or honey, which is being used before, but it's not recommended. It may aggravate the situation as well as the burn areas. And also do not puncture or open the blisters. You can see here that the blisters, swelling on a particular area, do not open it, let it be, just put and apply only an ointment. Then minor burns of the face, as I mentioned during my first slides, especially on the nose and eyes, this should be brought to the emergency room or any surgery specialist, especially ophthalmologists and ENT, to properly work up and examine and evaluate this patient for proper management. The burns with break of the skin, meaning with cuts, laceration, punctures, and even avulsion. We also again wash with clean water or cool water, preferably running water. Then take note of any active bleeding. If you see one actively bleeding, just press it, apply digital pressure or tourniquet proximal to the wound, and apply tight bandage and bring this to the nearest hospital or emergency room for proper care. Take note also of the nature of the affected burn wound. Either there's skin loss, tissue loss, laceration, or fractures and gangrene, which we should be properly managed in an emergency setting in the ER or any tertiary hospitals. The use of betadine, antiseptic, or chlorhexidine, if this is available in the home or in the areas where the lesions were affected, then you can use this to clean the wound. Never use hydrogen peroxide in cleaning the wound. Administer anti-tetanus vaccine, especially for this third, second degree, and even those with cuts and lacerations, as I mentioned, especially in children. If there is no anti-tetanus, the booster, then you can give booster shot to these children. The burns needing immediate surgical attention and management, as I mentioned, like in the face and other complicated areas, should be brought to the emergency room or tertiary hospital after thoroughly washing it with clean water. Now, for complicated burns, like as I mentioned, blast or explosion, continue with the first aid initially with the first aid treatment to the local affected wounds. If there is fluid, resuscitation, blood transfusion, then to stop the active bleedings, splinting or use of braces should be used, and then antibiotics should be given. And this should be, if these are brought to an emergency room, that is not no trauma center, then this should be transferred to a trauma center for proper care and management. Now for the surgical treatment, surgery will be needed in, as I said, not only minor burns, does not need, but without any complex wounds, this could be brought to any hospital emergency room. But more importantly, if these are complicated second degree or third degree burns or blast injuries, these should be brought to a tertiary hospitals with or without burn unit. Burn unit is very important, especially in managing this kind of complicated third or second degree burns. But for blast injuries, gunshot wounds, and those with multiply injured firecrackers or fireworks related in the body, this should be brought specifically to a trauma center, hospital with a specific burn unit for proper care and management. I think this is my last slide. So just a reminder, again, to the parents, these spiker-related injuries in children is accountable to the parents as well as to the guardian. So please keep your children always safe during the holiday season. And bear in mind that you always use your head or possibly lose your hand. With this, thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Dr. Espineda. Our next speaker is Dr. Nerissa Dando, another regular speaker of the PBS. She is a pediatrician and toxicologist, and presently she is the head of the National Poison Management and Control Center. She is affiliated with the Philippine General Hospital and is an associate professor of the College of Medicine Department of Pharmacology and Toxicology. Dr. Dando, the floor is yours.
Good day, everyone. It's the time of day that people are starting to anticipate and prepare for the celebration of Christmas and New Year. And to make this more exciting, with sounds and lights, people are using firecrackers and fireworks, not realizing the possible consequences of physical injuries, burns, poisoning, and even death. For this session, I'll be discussing poisoning from firecrackers. I have nothing to declare for this presentation. The learning objectives of this session is to define firecrackers and their components, to enumerate regulated and prohibited firecrackers in the Philippines, to describe the toxic effects of the components of the firecrackers, and recommend preventive measures to avoid the exposure to firecrackers, and some first aid tips. So let's define firecracker. It's a small explosive device primarily designed to produce a large amount of noise, especially in the form of a loud bang, usually, as I've mentioned, for celebration or even entertainment. They are generally made of cardboard or plastic with flash powder, cordite, smokeless powder, or black powder as the propellant. This is not the case, however, always. Anything from match heads to kerosene and lighter fluid has been used successfully in making several firecrackers. So what is explosive? It's a substance that decomposes suddenly but controllably. This forms gas and eventually release heat in the process. So the resultant shock shockwave has many applications like for mining, demolition, missile propulsion, and even warfare from the bombs that we see. So most explosives, however, contain nitrogen, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen in an unstable molecular configuration, which, as a result of spark, blow, or other small explosion, react extremely rapidly to produce carbon dioxide, steam, and nitrogen with some carbon monoxide and hydrogen. What we are afraid of firecrackers and even fireworks are the cost or the eventual cause of injuries and deaths. So to avoid that during New Year, most especially, we have seen some cases. We have to discuss the different toxic effects because we have seen several deaths. And between 2006 and 2021, the Consumer Product Safety Commission received reports of 158 fireworks-related deaths for an average of 9.9 deaths per year. And of the 9 deaths attributed to fireworks in 2021, 6 were associated with misuse. So let's look at the legality of firecrackers, as well as other types of explosives. They are subject to various laws in many countries, although firecrackers themselves are not usually considered illegal contraband material. It is usually the manufacture, the sale, the storage, and the use of firecrackers that are subject to laws, including safety requirements for manufacture, the requirement of a permit, for example, to sell or store, or restrictions on the use of your firecrackers. So the Philippine National Police released the names and brands of allowed and prohibited firecrackers and pyrotechnics ahead of the Christmas and New Year revelries. So these are now the guidelines in place pursuant to Executive Order 28 and the Republic Act 7183 that regulates the sale, manufacture, distribution, and use of firecrackers and other pyrotechnic devices. So these are some of the examples of that rules and regulations, like this one, the baby rocket and the quitties or the sky rockets. This is the famous ones, the small triangulo that we usually see, and the pulling of strings. And the list, the following are the other list of pyrotechnic devices that are allowed to be sold and used in the local setting. We have the butterfly, the famous fountain, jumbo regular and special, luces, mabuhay, Roman candles, sparklers, trompillo, and the whistle devices. These are now the prohibited firecrackers. These are not regulated for sale and use because they are banned. Number 1 is your Watusi. Fortunately, we have seen lesser incidence or decreased incidence of Watusi poisoning lately in the past few years, maybe because of the more strict regulations and attempt to really monitor the sale and use of your Watusi. In the early times, the Watusi was replaced with Piccolo, which has the same contents as Watusi, and so the same toxic effects that we have seen for those patients who are exposed to this Piccolo. Of course, prohibited is the super lolo. So parang yung the small triangulo, no? Pero this is in a larger scale, and this is really prohibited for firecracker use. So other prohibited firecrackers are as follows: the giant bawang, whistle bomb, atomic bomb, super lolo, atomic triangle, Judas Belt, Goodbye Philippines, Bin Laden, Mother Rockets, Coke in Can, Super Yolanda, Pillbox, Mother Rockets, the Boga, which are usually seen in children, no, in young teenagers, and even the Quiton. What we are afraid of also is the public disturbance that these fireworks and firecrackers can produce. It can be loud and can exceed 140 decibels because noise at 85 decibels and above can already damage hearing. So increase in the sound levels can lead to, of course, restlessness, temporary or even permanent hearing loss. High blood pressure, nakakakaba kaya? And of course, sleep disturbances, obviously. Now, there is high risk of firework property damage. So due to reckless usage or inaccurate trajectory of these fireworks and firecrackers, it may cause fire. And due to reckless and lack of knowledge on how to use these firecrackers. What we are afraid of as a health professionals as well are the health risk due to these harmful chemicals, which are the components of these firecrackers and fireworks. So toxic chemicals such as lead, titanium, strontium, and copper that are commonly found in fireworks. And I will be telling you more later on as we go on with the discussion. And the research shows these metallic particles in the smoke emitted by fireworks pose a health risk, particularly people who suffer from asthma. Let's look at the ingredients of some fireworks. So there are binders, which are mostly your dextrine. And there's, of course, the fuel, which can either be a black powder or the gunpowder, or the aluminum powder or flesh powder. There are other agents like oxidizing and reducing agents. Oxidizing agents like nitrates and chlorates, which can produce methemoglobinemia, and some cardiac effects as well. And reducing agents like your sulfur or the charcoal. And of course, the regulator and the coloring agent to make it more visually stimulating. These are the list of some specific ingredients of your fireworks. So as we have mentioned earlier, mostly heavy metals, although some have poor or little oral absorption or little risk of toxicity. And these different chemicals or different heavy metals produce different colors. So you have visually stimulating effects when the fireworks are being flown. But what we are afraid of are some of these components like the calcium. The calcium chlorate has poor GI tract absorption. However, it can become corrosive and can cause oral, esophageal ulceration, and eventually gastrointestinal bleeding or hemorrhage. Another corrosive component is your copper from the copper chloride or the copper salts or the copper halides. Other ingredients, what we are most afraid of is the phosphorus. And these are the ones that we see in your Watusi. So this is the glow-in-the-dark effects of the phosphorus, that this may be a component of the fuel. In your safety matches that we use at home, these are your red phosphorus, which are insoluble substance and basically non-toxic or less toxic in oral ingestions. But what we are really afraid of are the white phosphorus in the fireworks. And in the clinical and in the local setting that we see in Watusi, the yellow phosphorus that can cause severe gastroenteritis and even cardiotoxic effects. So these yellow phosphorus are very poisonous, as you will see later on as we describe the different toxicity ratings of the components of the Watusi. Of course, the other components or other ingredients that are found in your fireworks are the other heavy metals like rubidium, strontium, sulfur. So again, these have minor toxicity, although some can produce vomiting and diarrhea, like your sulfur, as mentioned here, and even zinc salts can cause vomiting, diarrhea, and GI ulcers. However, because firework ingestions are rarely cause zinc toxicosis. So the other common types of fireworks, you see bottle rockets, sparklers, and snakes. No? For bottle rockets, you have gunpowder that we have mentioned earlier. But as you can see, the concerns are mainly GI irritation, and they can be a foreign body in the intestines. The nitrates may be of minor concerns, but what we are afraid of, the GI irritation that we have mentioned earlier. Sparklers, the same. You have your barium dinitrate, strontium, and potassium perchlorate. So the ingestion can really cause GI manifestations, as we have seen in other ingredients. But what we are really afraid of for barium, it causes severe hypokalemia, which leads to muscle weakness, cramping, and even cardiac muscle dysfunction. Okay. For the other types of fireworks, the snakes, they also call it the black snakes or glowworms. It has the following ingredients of potassium nitrate, carbon, sulfur perchlorates, aluminum, strontium nitrate, and barium. So again, mostly limited to gastroenteritis. The more serious or present potential for significant toxicity, as we mentioned, is the barium toxicity. So what are the clinical signs? These are now the specific signs that we see for specific ingredients. The barium, in barium chloride or barium nitrates, again, it stimulates or it exits the channel for potassium in skeletal muscle cells and eventually stimulates skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscle. The results will be severe hypokalemia, which may present with vomiting, diarrhea, hypersalivation, cyanosis, and even bradycardia and dyspnea. Tremors, seizures, paralysis, and hypertension are also seen, but what we really are afraid of is the progression to arrhythmias, respiratory failure, even cardiac shock, and possibly death in severe cases. No? Chlorates, the same. But what we are most afraid of, it aside from causing vomiting, tachycardia, hemolysis, this time it's hyperkalemia. And these are secondary to your methemoglobinemia and hemolysis. Some can also cause nephropathy, secondary to the hemolysis that will eventually ensue. Nitrates, the same. You can produce methemoglobinemia, and the severity of clinical signs correlates with the severity of your methemoglobinemia. Of course, the rest of the salts can be corrosive as well, so you watch out for possible caustic injury once these are ingested. Okay. So in summary, the effects of your firecrackers, these are the heavy metals that we have mentioned: copper, that irritates the respiratory tracts; the cadmium, that reduces capacity of carrying oxygen in blood, which eventually leads to anemia; the zinc, which can cause vomiting and fume fever; lead, we know that these are directly affecting our nervous system; magnesium, which can also cause fume fever by magnesium fume; and sodium, which are highly reactive element in nature and can cause burns or wounds when exposed in air. So let me discuss Watusi, because this is the most lethal that we have locally seen for firecrackers. These are called your dancing firecrackers. No? And so these are the specific chemical components that were discovered and their toxicity rating. As you can see, your yellow or white phosphorus that we have mentioned earlier is a super toxic chemical with toxicity rating of 6, that it can cause a lethal dose at less than 5 milligrams per kilogram. So that one small stick can already cause death in some patients. So you can imagine in children exposed to this Watusi, even small amount, kahit hindi nga maubos yung isang stick, can already produce mortality or death in some patients. The other components can be as lethal as well, like your trinitrotoluene, TNT in your dynamite. No, this is the toxicity rating 4. It's also very toxic. And the other components, we have mentioned that earlier, the potassium nitrates and the chlorates, which are also moderately to very toxic components. Okay, so these are the summary of their toxic effects. No, aside from we've mentioned the protoplasmic poison yellow phosphorus, the TNT, chlorate, and nitrates can also produce hypotension, nausea and vomiting. We have discussed methemoglobinemia and red cell hemolysis. But for your TNT, the additional effects would be your aplastic anemia and eventually subacute hepatic necrosis. The clinical stages were seen for acute yellow phosphorus poisoning as follows. So in stage 1, it can just be a minimal vomiting with or without hematemesis, but the severity of symptoms depends on the amount ingested. Stage 2 can be relatively symptom-free, but of course, we are anticipating a possible delayed effects in stage 3 when you are now having severe gastrointestinal symptoms, acute degeneration of liver with metabolic derangements, and significant ECG changes, mimicking your myocardial infarction. So what do we do in case of Watusi poisoning? Of course, at the onset, at home, you just have to remove everything, decontaminate the patient, and bring the patient immediately at the emergency room. So, of course, if the patient is still okay, you can give already raw egg whites as a first aid so that you can prevent further absorption. And this serves as an demulcent to your Watusi poisoning. Okay. At the ER, of course, you initiate the initial ABCs of life support. And you can give, if not yet given at home, we usually give raw egg whites. And then for adults, it's usually 8 to 12 egg whites. And for children, it's around 6 to 8 raw egg whites. Okay. And we usually have several laboratory examinations that we have to request to stabilize the patient and to monitor it closely. And then we usually refer to the GI service for possible endoscopy because, as we have mentioned earlier, this can cause also caustic injury once ingested. And several antidotes or general antidotes that we give, of course, we check for the sugar or glucose. We give calcium gluconate if necessary, especially if you have low calcium. And we give H2 blockers for those with abdominal pain. Okay. Specific antidotes, we have seen that N-acetylcysteine, yes, the same antidote for paracetamol poisoning works well with giving in your Watusi poisoning. And we give vitamin K1 for those with prolonged pro time and ascorbic acid for those with methemoglobinemia from the chlorates and nitrates components of your Watusi. And of course, the specific measures, you can give your vitamin B complex and antibiotic if necessary, especially those who have aspiration pneumonia after those presented with severe vomiting and eventually causing aspiration pneumonia. And the rest, of course, are supportive measures. So what are the other effects of firecrackers? You know that aside from the ones that we have mentioned, it can cause air pollution because it contains many toxic gases and chemical compounds which are eventually activated after getting in touch with exposed air and eventually harming the population. Example of which is your nitrous oxide. And then, of course, global warming, as I've mentioned, with the bursting crackers, increasing heat, increasing carbon dioxide and other toxic gases in the atmosphere. Noise pollution, this loud cracker sound can affect human directly, as we have mentioned earlier. So kawawa naman the old age people and even the animals that we have or the pets. No? Garbage, eventually, after the residual of crackers, after bursting, so lahat na itatapon, so no one takes care after, and it eventually affects the environment. Fire accidents, we have mentioned as one of the possible complications once in your small spark can eventually cause fire when it causes the fire during the bursting of the crackers. Newborn and pregnant women, as they have seen persistent exposure to loud noises while pregnancy might trouble the baby, although not proven yet, pero we can still for research for evaluation, no? And investigation. So every human being, especially those with asthma, can have eventual attacks, and those with heart problems can have heart attacks, and chronic bronchitis can also have high risk for attacks. And for animals, I mentioned this already, they feel scared, look for safest place. The noise of firecrackers make them unstable, which may lead to shivering, drooling, howling, psychosis, and of course, excessive barking. So again, these are some of the precautions. Choose the correct location. You, as much as possible, keep the firecracker outside. Only use firecrackers in open, flat, inflammable, and sturdy spaces. No, do it in a safe place. Avoid places with trees, grass, and buildings that could catch the fire, and be considerate of the noise pollution. Kawawa naman ang mga kapitbahay. So again, as much as possible, we really try to avoid using fireworks and firecrackers, but if you do, please buy them from authorized and reputed manufacturers only. Light one at a time by one person in a safe distance, yung others, then keep the fireworks at a safer place. Better that you organize a community display of fireworks rather than individual handling the crackers. And always use long candle for igniting firecrackers, and keeping 2 buckets of water handy just in case really the burst of fire, no, to eventually immediately extinguish the flame. So these are the don'ts again, don't ignite fireworks while holding them, don't bend when ignited the fireworks. Don't ignite fireworks in any container. Huwag niyong i-approach immediately, especially those misfired fireworks. Don't tamper with misfired fireworks again. And please don't attempt to make fireworks at home. No? And no, ito talaga, don't allow small children to handle fireworks. And don't throw or point fireworks at other people. No? Baka maging homicide na yan eventually. Don't carry fireworks in the pocket. Don't store firecrackers near burning candles, in narrow by-lanes. Don't wear synthetic clothing. Preferably wear thick cotton clothing. And those loosely hanging clothes, so don't apply any cream or ointment on oil or burnt area. Don't drive recklessly while taking a burned victim to the hospital. And don't light flying fireworks if there is a heavy wind. So all of these things, this is just a summary, a good poster that we have seen all over. These firecrackers are never to be used by children alone. And adults under the influence of any substance, especially if it's homemade, adulterated, or past their expiration date, or even without eye protection. So I was able to look at this poster from the Department of Health and the PTV News in December 2020. This summarizes the prevention and precautions on using these firecrackers. No? So kapag nasugatan o napaso ang balat, so try to wash it immediately as soon as possible. If you ingested these firecrackers, then try to ingest or take the raw egg whites that I have mentioned earlier. And if you have nakalanghap ng usok, then you remove the patient from the toxic environment. And if you have catch it in the eyes, then you have to wash it, irrigate your eyes eventually for 15 minutes so that you'll be able to clean the rest of your eyes and prevent eye injury as well. I think this is my last slide. Thank you very much for your attention. And these are my references. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dando. That concludes our session. We hope that what you have learned here you can apply in your practice, as well as share with your parents and their caregivers. Thank you and have a safe holiday season to everyone.